Alright, welcome back. I'm going to tie a 2-cent October Caddis pupa flashback. And the name's long, but it's a pretty cool pattern. I've got a size 16 hook in the vise. And an olive brown bead paired with it hanging out back. We're going to put some horns in here. Bring that right back up front. I'm going to use wood duck flank. I've got about 6 fibers. And we just want to make these just a little bit longer than the actual fly itself. If the bead's going to get in the way, because they're going to come over the bead. And we want to try to keep them concave side down if possible. Doesn't always work very well. The fibers are fairly small. And we're just going to work this back to basically over where the bead will be. And trim that out. You can add a little glue if you like. And so we just want to make sure that we can get them to curve the way we want here in a little bit, but we want to make sure they're out over front. Oops. And we will whip finish here. I'm going to try to go to the back if possible. I'll slide that bead right on up. And I'm going to add some lead wire. It can be kind of difficult to get that lead wire over your thread. So you have to kind of play with it, but we don't need much, only 5 or 6 wraps just to help seat the bead. That's a big drop. Almost add a drop of super glue. I was looking at something else when that came off and I was like, oh, hey, look what I got. All right, so now we can kind of get started. I'm gonna take my thread and put it back on and come back up. I'm gonna leave enough. Oops, I didn't do it. I'm gonna leave enough for a long tag. Coming out the back, I'm gonna drop it underneath. That's gonna be the rib. There we go. Let's bring it down to about the barb. Leave it hanging out. And next we're going to put in the flashback. So what I have here is some mottled copper and black Flashaboo. Kind of works well for this, and you don't need a ton. I'm just going to take this strand and go 50-50, collect them and run them to the back. I'm going to try to get them flat as they're coming back. Oh, there we go. We don't want to go too far into the throat. And we work back forward. Next, I'm going to put another dubbing loop in, or my first dubbing loop, I should say. You can do 2 dubbing loops if you like on this. If you forget to do your tag or your rib, I'm just going to clip the one side out and wrap back all the way down to where everything meets up, and again back forward. Okay. Now the fun part. So what I've got here is rusty brown marabou and orange marabou, and I'm going to use this at about a 2-to-1 ratio in favor of orange. And we just need some reasonably long fibers for whatever size hook you want to tie these on. Typically 14 to 20, so it shouldn't be too difficult to source marabou that'll cover that distance. So I got about 6 or 7 strands there. So I'll pull 3 or 4 here for the brown. Okay, now we're just going to line up these tips. And we're going to tie them in and just bring them to the back. And you can build a little bit of a taper here if you need to, or before. Usually the thread will work just fine. Trim off the extra right there and tie it down. Okay, and I'm going to collect that marabou. Oh, I lost a couple strands of the, that'll be all right. You got enough. And collect the marabou and get it wet just by licking my fingers and kind of rubbing it together. And I'm going to grab the first extra piece of thread, or the dubbing loop piece that I put in, and I'm going to twist that marabou together with that strand. Just core twist that to help it stay formed. I'm going to have to cut some of this extra off, it's too much. Okay. And now we're just going to wrap this guy forward. We're going to have to groom the body here in a minute. But it's almost September, and these little pupae should be starting to come into the water here pretty soon. So I figured it was a timely video. No, I guess I don't do too many timely videos. Whoa. But it is what it is. Okay, we'll bring that up front. Tie it off on top, fold everything back. That'll help build up the collar. Now we got all this fuzz, and we want to try to pull this out and about, and I'm going to trim this down with a pair of pinch scissors. You got to really be careful to make sure you don't hit your other two materials sitting out back, the thread and the flash. You can probably leave this stuff on if you really wanted to. It just doesn't look quite as neat for the video. So it can be a little bit of a chore. It's not bad. We don't have to get like all the way down or anything. We just want to kind of trim off some of the extra fuzzies so that we have something about like this. And now we're going to take our flash and bring it right up the back of the shank. Whoops. Place a couple of turns, and we're going to fold this over and bring it to the back and then back to the front. We're going to do that again. The only reason for that is just to help build up a little bit of bulk in the collar so we don't have to use too much dubbing. We can leave it sparse and kind of airy. So now I'm going to go ahead and rib this fly with my thread. And if you prefer, you can trim this fly down again. front. Just tie off that. Again, folding it over. Now I want to grab my flash and fold it over again. Perfect. Now I just need to cut out the thread. Okay, so that takes care of the body. Now what I'm going to use here is I've got a blend of snowshoe rabbit in rusty brown and just some black hare's mask, just to kind of give it this brown look. Go ahead and dub this on. You want a fairly thin noodle here, especially for a size 16. Whoops. It dropped right into another pile of dubbing that I had there that is also rabbit. What are the odds? And like, I'm not going to take the time to find it. Okay. Now we're going to build our little thorax. Okay, and now we're going to fold the flashback over and continue that up right over the hook eye. And right behind the bead. And trim that out. Okay, now for the fun part. Just take your pair of scissors, run them right up front. Use the flat side along the side, not your, well, I'm sorry, the rounded side along the side, not the flat side. And you're just going to place it right up close, press and pull and roll and twist. And that's going to start to shape that. It's a little bit difficult for me to do with the camera in the way. So we start to get that kind of a shape. And these are going to collect together. I know Caddis only have technically 2 antennae that come out of the front. But these are going to sort of collectively kind of bond together. And we're going to take the 2 or 3 off of one side and place a wrap over. We want them so that the antennae are kind of coming off the top and to the back, like so. And then we'll do it again with this side. It's very difficult to do both sides at once and get them to splay open. So I recommend just taking your time a little bit. And then we're going to wet whip this closed. And that's it. A few steps on this one. And if your little antenna pop open, don't worry about that. That's, I mean, once it gets wet, it's all going to get stuck together. And if it doesn't, it's just going to add a little bit more movement. So there you go. All right. Tie a few of these up. Take them fishing here pretty quick. What is it? August 28th or something now, I think. And so come here in the next few weeks. These little guys should start to be in your water before the dry flies come out. So anyway, always appreciate a thumbs up, like, subscribe, and share, and check us out over at flyvault.net. You can support us over there and the things that we're doing to try to help the fly tying community. Costs a couple bucks a month, but we'd love to see you over there. So other than that, everybody, happy tying, take care, and we'll see you next time.